Blessings on top of more blessings. How y'all feeling today?
What's up with it? What's up with it?
Those of you who are tuning in, this is the Kings and Queens of Credit podcast, and we are here with Natasha Bass, the #1 realtor on the West Coast. Shout out to you, and Rich before 50. How y'all living today? I love it. I love it. So those of you who do not know, the Kings and Queens of Credit, what we do is we cover, first of all, we cover everything that has to do with credit, and we bring on people that's really crushing it when it comes to credit, leveraging their credit for business, leveraging their credit to feed their lifestyle and overall create a legacy. And we had the honor and the pleasure to interview Chris Colbert. If you don't know who he is, go to his Instagram, richbefore50 underscore, and do your research, man. Do your research. And if you have any type of questions, definitely tap in. He's definitely open to all questions, but we're going to get down to it. We have a series of questions that we want to ask so that we can gain the knowledge and understand how we can move when it comes to 2023. All right, Natasha, once again, how you feeling today? Your vibe is always high. What's good?
I feel like James Brown. I don't want to do it.
I feel good.
And then when you said when you introduced Rich and you said, if you don't know, I want to say, and if you don't know, now you know. Yes, I know. That's my guy. I'm so happy to be here. I love y'all.
Absolutely. Likewise. Rich, just tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from, man.
So I am a loving husband of 20 years, father of 3, God-fearing, entrepreneur that has been in this space for probably about 6 years, actively hitting multiple goals that I had set for myself, which is acquiring assets, owning land, coaching people, helping people to be able to live the life that they desire, and also just basically been here trying to make sure that people understand that they can leverage credit to gain access to assets. And then ultimately that we don't have to look at somebody else or the left or right of us and actually understand that we are running our own race, but you could do it at your own pace, but we can all get to the same end goal, which is the finish line.
Yeah, that's a fact. One thing you mentioned was real estate, buying land. That's huge. When it comes to land, like how did that even happen, and how early were you able to do that in your course of life?
So land was actually what I purchased outright before I purchased a house that I live in. So I give you an example. So back in, I think it was like 2008, I got a mortgage for a house that me and my wife was living in, right? The same year, I was looking at land in order to try to develop one. I didn't know when I was going to develop on it, when I was going to do anything with it, but I bought the land in 2008 in Southern California. And then from there, I literally started identifying other plots of land on auction sites that I can gain access to. And at the current state we're at right now, we own about 33 acres of land across 3 states. So
that's lit. That's lit. Land before an actual house. That's a lot of people. That's not the traditional, like people buy cars and then they buy a house and then they think, hey, maybe I should get some land.
What E40 say? Don't buy a $100,000, $85,000 car before you buy a house. Seriously,
that's real. That's real, because I was taught how to buy a car before I was taught how to buy a house. And I'm like, if I would have knew how to buy a house, I would have bought a house before I bought a car.
Yeah.
I'm going to just be real. I got friends.
Car.
Exactly. And I got friends that got cars. Like, I give you gas money.
And they got buses everywhere.
That's
right.
Fact. That's a fact. Yep, Natasha, go ahead.
So, Chris, I want to know, tell us about your journey. What's your niche? Tell us about your niche.
So, my journey has been very interesting. So back in 2000, I was given an opportunity to follow somebody that I liked into a high school office recruiter's office for the military, right? Now, I really didn't have any intentions on going to the military, but it was this fine female that I followed in the recruiter's office. And so if you fast forward to 2001, that recruiter said, hey, remember you came into our office and said you were going to sign up for the military. And so I was fighting tooth and nail, trying not to go. I was dodging all his phone calls. Dude pulled up in my driveway after my mom gave him my address. And he said, yes, you have to leave today. And I said, wait a minute, what you mean I got to leave today? He said, yes, he said it would be considered AWOL. Now, fast forward, I know that was a lie, but ultimately he had a quota to meet. And so 2001, went to the military, did 4 years in the United States Army, spent about 22 months in Iraq, right? When I was in Iraq, I had the opportunity to talk to some people. And this is the cool part about that, right? Is always learning from somebody that knows more than you, right? Having people that can pour into you as opposed to you always, feeling like you know everything and this, that, and the third. So a few people knew about stock market, and I didn't really know. I heard about it, but I didn't really know anything about it. And so a guy did research, and he researched this company called Sirius Satellite Radio. And I had saved about $10,000, and I dumped that money right into Sirius Satellite Radio. Now this predates before the merger between XM, right? And so I made probably 50% on my money. So I made like $5,000 off that 10 by buying a stock. And so I said, this was my entry level to doing more of an investment type phase. Now I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, where we pretty much get it out the mud. We know how to hustle. We know how to sell drugs. We know how to do all the stuff that people do in the hood. But another thing that I remember was that when you have income, more incoming than you have outgoing, you're in a better situation. And so buying low and selling high was all of these concepts I had heard, but I had an opportunity to see it in real time when I bought that stock. Then from there, it was a whole bunch of people that I was stationed with that were younger than me. And this is where you can get into that phase of where you really look at on the left and right. Everybody has their own time frame. So it was a guy, he was probably about 18, 19 years old. He didn't look like us. You see what I'm saying? And his family gave him access to money. And so he bought fourplexes in the military town. And so I wanted to know more about it, but I was starting to get a little envious. And so I said, man, this dude's younger than me. I know I got more sense than he does. And like, there's a whole bunch of things going on. And so my dad had died after I got out of the military. And so that changed my trajectory, and it changed I was in a depressive state. And so outside of that, I really didn't know where I was going to go in life. But what happened was I decided to move to California. When I decided to move to California, another exposure to different people and a lot of fast-paced interactions and activities. And so I've come to realize that I said, at some point, I'm going to buy a house. At some point, I am going to invest because of the things I remember back when I was in the military, where dude said he bought a fourplex and renters were paying the mortgage and he was still getting a profit, right? And so what was the easiest way for me to do that? I saved some money from working my 9 to 5. And then I said, where can I go and invest where it's not going to cost as much as where I live at in California? And so I said, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and the market is definitely cheaper there. And so my first year in 2016, we purchased about 4 properties using all of our capital. And then I had to use my Southwest credit card, which had like a $35,000 limit to finish the renovations. But then we sold that property and I made about $70,000 off my first transaction, even losing money from contract. Yeah.
Wow. So what is that time frame between your first the land and the property? 2016 was the property. When was the land?
Yeah, so 2016 was the first acquisition of an actual property to fix and flip. We purchased the land, I think it was like 2008, 2009.
Nice. Okay. We're tracking. What was the catalyst that inspired you to be self-employed? Because we know you went to the military and there was a different mindset shift. What was the main catalyst that inspired you?
So most people will not know that I worked for the state government from like 2008 to 2013. Between that time, I had built out programs. I had helped thousands of people receive benefits and services from the military because I worked in a capacity of a veterans representative after being in the military, and then helping out other military personnel when they get out of the military. That was my primary function, and to make sure that they got all of the benefits, resources, and jobs, etc., that would make them a well-rounded citizen after they came out and got out of the military. I created this program, and I got an award from Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger that says Superior Accomplishment Award. Now, the award was only like, I think, about $500. Now, when they gave me this award, I created a whole program that was funded by $3 million. And I was given an opportunity to apply for promotion to run the program that I created. When I applied for that position, I didn't get the job. They gave it to a person I had trained and coached about the program I created. And so that was the beginning of the catalyst, right? It wasn't the crescendo. It wasn't the highest point that really tipped me over the edge. That was one of many, right? After I found out that was really pretty much a slap in the face, I said, I'm going to take, like, you know how LeBron James said, I'm going to take my talents to Miami. So I took my talents to the federal government. The federal government paid me 6 figures. It was my first 6-figure job, right? Outside of the money I was making illegally, right? but
while working with them,
we ain't gonna tell nobody else.
So I worked for the Department of Labor, and I was helping veterans get jobs on a macro level, meaning like I would provide all of the funding to your state entities and your nonprofits that had job readiness programs, right? And so they were paying me, I think it was like $105,000 or so dollars a year, and they fired me, basically, in a nutshell. I'll just give, like, for people that don't know, like, what they did was they said, we're not going to pass you on your probationary period. And so that was another one, like, man, dude, I'm busting my butt helping these people out, and they don't want me. And I don't know what their reasoning was, but they just didn't pass me on the probe, and it was very vague in terms of the documentation. So I then moved to another job, which was still helping veterans, right? And you've got to think this is a span of 2008 till about 2016. For the most part, my major function was helping others, some in the capacity of me presenting to over thousands of people about benefits, resources, and things that they're entitled to as a veteran. And then some is managing a budget of like $20 million of funds to help people get jobs, veterans get jobs. So these were high-level opportunities I had. After that, I went to a company called HealthNet. They were bought out by an entity called Centene, and I worked for them for 3 years. But then I said, listen, they're paying me $120,000, but I had my taste of real estate when I sold my house in 2015. When I sold my primary residence I had from 2008 to 2015, I made $100,000 off that property. And so that gave me my goose egg in order to take to Ohio by those assets. And so I bought my mama house. I bought a couple other houses, and then ultimately I said, you know what? If it's only for $100,000, I can make that on my own with selling 1 or 2 properties.
Right. Yeah. So that's where it happened.
The military.
You said what?
When did you exit the military? So you were doing while you were in 2005. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Go ahead, JJ.
Okay, so you realize you basically made more money doing that than when working with the government. So you said 120,000 the government was giving you. You made 100,000 from flipping houses.
Yeah.
And the flipping of the houses didn't fire you and wasn't going.
No, not at all. Now, don't get it twisted. There are some bumps in the road. Like the sacrifice was when I first started off. The sacrifice was losing $17,000 to a contractor, which was one of my best friend's father. And this is aired, and I don't care because I've told more than one person that this happened, and the guy actually know, you know.
Okay.
Let it rip.
we got you. No, Winnie Wynn says something that's very impactful, and it's important. He says Chris was helping everyone but himself, and I just want to touch real quick on that. Like, when we get to the point where we're helping everyone but ourselves, we got to understand that we're not in position to help them to our full potential. In all actuality, we're diminishing ourselves and we're diminishing our talents and our skills because we don't have the capacity to fulfill ourselves. We're doing that for everybody else. So we're not only doing them a disservice, we're doing ourselves a disservice as well. So I just wanted to highlight that because that's huge that Winning Win mentioned that, because I mean that happens to a lot of people that are servants, and we all know like the highest act is to serve. Like, that's what we're here to do. A lot of people don't do it. That's on them. But at the same time, when we understand how to serve, that's when we're really, really profitable in our life and monetary as well.
Right.
For sure.
Chris is that guy. Talk your talk, King.
Yeah, Chris has been making moves. And a lot of people don't even know this. This is why I was so excited about this call, because we have some questions lined up, because people outside looking in, they don't really realize or understand people's journey, and they don't really respect it until they know it. So this is our chance to not only have him on our platform, but just get people idea on how you can, no matter what your story is, you can literally go from one place to another by going through the challenges and being yourself. Another question we have is, what was a challenge that you had to overcome? And let's be more intentional. What was the biggest challenge that you had to overcome?
My biggest challenge, and I think it's still it still knocks on the door, right? Is some of what people have been saying is when we want others to succeed more than they want to succeed for themselves, right? If you were to look at all of my occupations that I've had, all of the things that I've done in terms of organizations I've joined, even with my content, it's more of a pouring out of a sense of abundance, meaning I want to help more people, right? And that's really, like you talked about, right? Is having that. Not everybody really has that, because being selfless can be selfish, meaning like I could say, oh, I did X, Y, and Z, right? But from joining my fraternity to what I even got my academic education on, and most people don't even really know that because I don't tout the fact that I have a master's degree in counseling, right? But even if you identify what are these things you keep aligning yourself with, right? Those are things that are servant-based organizations, service-based alignment. It's all about like, and that's just really been my life. And the reason being, and I look at that, sometimes we get traits from our mom and our dad, right?
Yeah.
And those characteristics were prevalent with my mom and my dad. So it was like you're probably going to get that. Like, and so when I look at my life, my biggest barrier or my biggest hurdle is wanting family members and friends from when we were kids and that knew the old Chris, like, to want to change their lives, right? And so even though I get some of the calls that say, man, bro, you posted something and that was it, you were talking to me. And I was like, really, I wasn't, but it was the conviction that told you that I was saying something that struck a chord, right? And so I get it, right? But my biggest thing is like family, they don't always support you, right? And oftentimes we think because they have the same, maybe some DNA or some blood, that they're family. And so that's always been knocking on my door in terms of, having people that are prideful, that they won't receive what it is. They won't they discredit the message and the messenger, right? I don't give two craps of whether you care about some things I did in the past, right? When I used to drink alcohol, or when I used to be an alcoholic, or when I used to, sell drugs, or whatever, any of those previous versions of me, right? Because that's not me today. And even if you hold on to that, that's fine. That's okay. But I would say, just like if we're on this podcast right now, right, and you have no interest in anything I have to say, right, forget about the messenger. Just hear the message. And that's what knocks on my door as my biggest hurdle.
Yeah. And you said they discredit the message and the messenger, but a lot of times they discredit the message because of the messenger, right. And not realizing that we growing, we learning, we are accompanied by people who are doing this left and right, and we eager to share that same knowledge and passion, because I want to see you win, and I'm about to win, and I want you to come with me. But everybody, like Winnie, I feel like I'm gonna mess his name up, but like he just said, everybody is not meant to go on the journey with you. So keep going, Chris. You are such an inspiration. You was on my helmet about some things, and me and Chris, we took a multifamily unit class together, and Chris was like, you are not paying for that. And I was like, I need to pay, and the reason why, you don't understand my situation. But Chris was like, he went like in straight social worker mode. And I am so happy that he stuck to his guns, and he was like, no, I see something greater in you. And so it's a blessing to be amongst people who see greater in you, because of that, we have built something even greater that's just going somewhere. So Chris, I want to ask you, what lessons have you learned by overcoming those challenges? Like, you had the challenge of, you got the property, and you said that your friend's dad, or you lost some money and stuff. So what are some challenges that you overcame? Because I know a lot of times when people are scared to get in real estate because there's so much money that you can lose, but I mean, you can't get ahead if you don't go through, you can't grow through what you don't go through, right? So
right.
What are some of those?
So there's a few things that have helped me through that process, right? One was having a loving wife that is very much so understanding and was willing to sacrifice with me, right? The thing about it is, when I have to leave the comfort of my home and my interactions, whether it's, so I'm gonna tell you, here's the cold pieces. For a lot of years, my wife have done work, as well as being what your traditional stereotypical woman would do, like in terms of cooking, cleaning, all of the various different hard tasks that are done, and raising children, all of that stuff, while dad goes out and try to make the money, right? Like, that's your old way of things going on, right? It's not really truthfully how Proverbs 31 talks about a woman and a husband. But anyway, I can go completely off into that. But
I want you to
what happened was she was very much so patient and diligent, and she talked me off a few ledges when I was really, really down and out about some things that had occurred. So losing the money, of course, we didn't really have a whole bunch of space to lose the money, right? But the end result ended up being a blessing, because we still profited, right? There was another situation where one of my, out of the last two flips, one of them where I completely renovated a whole house myself. Took me 3 months to do it, and I did all of the renovations. And then I ran some water and there was a leak in the walls. This house was, I thought it was ready to go on the market. Now, Tasha, you know, and JJ, you might even know, you got all of this stuff patched up. You ready to put a house on the market. And then all of a sudden there's a leak in the walls. So that means that I have to tear some stuff out. I got to figure out where this leak is coming from. And I literally was about to say, F this house. My wife called me. It was probably about 4 o'clock in the morning here, or I had called her. She answered, and she literally was like, honey, just find the leak. Even if you got to stay, because I was ready to fly back to California. I was in Ohio. And she was like, if you got to take a couple extra more days, just figure it out. You know how to fix it. So just relax, calm down, fix it. And so I busted out one wall, and I couldn't find the plumbing. And then so I this is one wall in the kitchen. Then I had cut a whole big no, I did it in the kitchen. Then I went in the living room and cut a hole in the living room wall. So I got 2 holes. I still didn't find where this one was. And then I finally said, you know what? The leak is coming somewhere around here. And then so I cut a hole in the floor, and I found it. And so what I had to do was literally take a whole long I think it was like a 3-inch pipe that went from upstairs to downstairs. I had to cut that whole thing out and put in a brand new one. And I tell you, it took me an extra 2 more days because I was just frustrated, and I had already been up late and all of this stuff. And I was ready to put this house on the market, but then I had to patch up the walls, and I had to fix the hole in the floor. It was a lot. But I say that to say is having somebody that you truly can dump some of that stress off on, having somebody that can talk you off that ledge, or somebody that can tell you, no, Tasha, you're not going to spend that $40,000
that you don't got to be spending.
You know, and so when you build a network of relationships or people, you want to leverage those people for the skill set that they have. Right. I did not have anybody else that would have probably understood, even though my wife, she didn't really know much about the renovations or whatever, but she literally was like, I know what I needed to say to my husband in that moment. Right. So.
Right. Absolutely. Man, that was good. So what, if you had a time machine, or no, let me go back. What is your greatest advice for all our viewers about your niche, about, you know, real estate, investing, becoming an entrepreneur? We didn't even really touch on the credit part, but just from your experiences, because you've done and dealt with and maneuvered through a lot of different avenues. What's your greatest advice?
My biggest advice would be there's more than one way to accomplish anything. Right. And so the more opportunities, the more research, and the more resources you have, meaning like other people you can, not necessarily, I really don't like the term pick their brain, but that you can converse with, right? That might be already in that lane, adds value. And when you get that information and you get that value, you have to make sure that you execute, because there is a real life thing called information hoarding. Yeah. And, you know, there's people that literally they're kind of systematic. And then sometimes they don't take as much risk as others because they want to go through every last detail. There's nothing in this world that you will ever encounter that will always be 100% perfect. Right. There's going to be some variances. There's going to be different circumstances. People get sick. People die. You know, quality of work is not always the same. You're not always dealing with apples to apples. So, but if you can find that happy medium with whatever it is, to where you feel comfortable, I would say move forward.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I got a question for both of you, since both of y'all are in the real estate game, and it's very prominent around this time. Well, actually, it's like every year it's prominent. Like everybody should invest every year. Like let's just be real. Like people say around this time you should buy real estate. I'm thinking like every time. Like why why not? When the market's up, down, buy. From what I've seen just by listening to you all, both of you and other people in the real estate arena, it's always a good time to buy. So, like, I guess my question is, what are some tips that that both of you guys, and of course, don't all do it at once. What are some tips that both of y'all could give someone that's looking to buy real estate, no matter what the market is doing? Like, how would they research, and what would be advice on the first step?
You want to
go? Ladies first. No. So what I would say is understanding the market is always top. It's always a good time to buy when you understand where you need to come in and buy at, right? So right now, let's say, for instance, the interest rates are up, right? So it's good for buyers. A lot of buyers are afraid to buy because of the interest rates, but actually it's good because the prices are low. You have more negotiation tactics right now. Like I see a lot of investors, I'm getting investors that's coming to me with deals, and I'm like, you guys got to be kidding. But guess what? There are people out there because of the market that needs to get it off to where somewhere that's gonna work, where they're pitching $50,000 less than what the asking price is, and they're getting that. Last year, that was absolutely not gonna happen. You know what I mean? You could not go in asking for seller concessions and credits and coming in under asking price. No, you can barely even come in at asking price last year. You had to come in above asking price. So really understanding the market, getting with people who understand the market, you're investing, knowing that like if that's what you want to do is become an investor, then you need to keep going and keep looking at deals so you can understand what's a good deal, understanding the cap rates and things like that. And once you understand that, you know that you're going to have to go through some before you find a good one. And don't give up just because first 10 didn't look good or the first 20, and then you're like, oh, there's no deals out there. No, there's plenty of deals everywhere. It's just you have to be patient and diligent in your search and keep going.
Nice, good advice. I'm taking notes. I don't know about y'all in the comments, but you better get your pad. It's up. Go ahead, Chris.
So what I would say is a couple things. Me and Natasha was on a call just recently with another resource that she has access to, right? And what we talked about with the nature of the call was creative financing, right? So for everybody that's concerned or that are shying away because of interest rates, right? There are other things and other strategic ways you can gain access to assets using creative financing. I'll give you a couple of examples. Seller financing is a creative way, meaning where the seller actually will hold the note and you pay them. That's one way. Another way is you actually, and this is the way that I will move forward for, and I'm going to figure out all of the strategic ways for even larger assets, is leveraging credit cards and lines of credit, which are not secured by an asset, in order to take advantage of particular properties. The guy that robbed me for the $17,000, he was a contractor, my friend's dad. He told me, invest east to live west.
Oh, okay.
Now, if anybody that already live east, that still applies to you, because what that means is if you live east and invest east, you can live a lifestyle like as if you lived on the west side. meaning you could live really nice on the East Coast with things maybe cheaper, but you'd be living like a California lifestyle or a Texas lifestyle or whatever the case may be. So when you have access to credit and you can leverage the credit cards and the lines of credit to gain access to owning and buying an asset, you have more buying power than somebody that otherwise are trying to just get a loan for an asset because you've used somebody else's money on a credit card and or a business line of credit, right? Or a loan, business loan. And you can go to an auction in the East Coast, or you can send a proxy, meaning I could send Tasha, I could send JJ, hey, here's the list of the properties I want to bid on. And this is how much I will pay for this particular asset. You're going to get a property at a discounted rate in most cases, right? And the asset itself would be way cheaper than it would be on the West Coast. And then the profit margin, depending on whether you're going to fix and flip it and sell it, or if you're going to just hold the asset, the profit margin is almost identical to what it would be if you were to buy a property with a loan here on the West Coast, but your exposure is a lot less. I'll give you a prime example. I was bidding on a property in Sacramento, California. It was a 1-bedroom studio in a condo. I saw that the comps are, Tasha can elaborate on that, but the comps are what other properties sold for within a 1-mile radius of this particular property that I was looking at within the last 6 to 12 months, right? So the property I was bidding on, properties in the area sold for $120,000. This was like 3 years ago. And it was just a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo. I had already had my numbers jotted down as if properties are selling for 120, the most I will bid would be $80,000. Reason I say that is because if I have to put $20,000 to $30,000 in renovations after the $80,000, I would still have a margin of, about $20,000 or $30,000 to play with in terms of profit, right? This particular asset, I didn't win because the bid exceeded the $80,000 that I was going to give them in cash for that particular asset. But guess what happened? I think it went to about $120,000, and I watched it. The same exact asset sold for $140,000. So they still end up making $20,000. But guess what? If they spent $120,000 and there was holes in the wall, or there was plumbing issues, they probably only made a $10,000 spread. I took my same $80,000 and bought a property, paid $55,000 for this particular asset at an auction in Ohio. And when I got that property appraised, it was appraised at $120,000. I paid $55,600 to be exact, but it appraised at $125,000.
So you got a better deal anyway out of that in Ohio.
Absolutely.
If you would have paid the $80,000 at the other property. Dope.
Now,
that's
lit. But the cool part about that would have been, if I'd have gained that asset, is it would have been in driving distance, right?
Okay, yeah.
Most people are concerned about an asset that they can see. Who cares if you can see it or not if it makes money? Right. There's a property or a piece of land that I bought for $600. It was almost 2 acres in a city called Holbrook, Arizona. I never saw this land. I made $2,500 off a $600 purchase, and the taxes on it was probably like $3 a year. I made $2,500 off of this asset that I had never saw.
That's lit. Yeah, that's lit. Doing the research and knowing what you're doing. There's one thing that you said.
The market.
Yeah, the market. There you go. And I'm just covering this just in case the viewers didn't catch it. You mentioned business credit, and then you started talking about 80,000, 50,000. Like, okay, so did this 80,000, 50,000, did this come from the business credit? Like, how did that shake the move? Or did you save and have that already?
Actually, so what we did was when we sold our first property, we had some cash, of course. And so I didn't learn much about, so I'll take this back. I learned about business credit, but a different route of business credit, getting vendor accounts, getting a DUNS number, et cetera, right? But I had already had a strong personal credit profile, but my credit profile shot to the dump when I had to do that first renovation, maxing out my Southwest credit card. So so just think, I had a, maybe a $5,000 credit card. I had a $2,000 credit card. I had, a mortgage. I had all of these other little small credit cards, but I had one credit card that had $35,000 on it. And that particular asset, I paid, I think $30,000 of my own cash for the one that was my first flip, right? And I literally maxed out that card from between flights, between materials, between making sure that the contractor got paid. And I was $17,000 off of that card.
17,000 from the 35,000.
So give us the trick, right? A lot of people are like, why would you do that? You're gonna pay so much interest on that.
Yeah, and so that was when I didn't know what I know now.
And now, give us the trick. I know you know.
So the Southwest credit card had already had interest, right? It was a personal card, and you definitely don't like. Well, I would say if you have access to other lines of credit or loans on the business side, if you leverage that, it doesn't affect your utilization on your personal side, right? Mm-hmm. It definitely shows up on your business side, but it doesn't affect your personal side, which allows you to do other moves and allow you to personally guarantee other transactions, right? So if an asset was presented to me today that required me to liquidate my personal and my business credit cards, and the asset itself, meaning leveraging, 20-something% interest over the course of a year, and the asset itself is going to give me a 50% return or a 75% return or 100% return, yes, I would liquidate every asset, or not asset, every access I have in terms of credit in order to move forward. But I want to take people to thinking about, if you can gain access to business funding for your particular business, and you can leverage and pull the money off of these cards. Is that what you're trying to ask? You can pull money off of these cards in order to go acquire the asset. You have done something that would be what they call it, creative, because that's not your typical, your norm. The particular cards that you will get, though, should offer 0% for a duration.
Gotcha.
The reason you want 0% APR for a duration is because you're probably going to be required to only pay a monthly minimum of about 1% of whatever you use on that card.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Typically, the duration is a year, 0% for a year. It's usually a year.
That's right.
So if you fixing and flipping, you shouldn't be taking a year to fix and flip something. So
how long it usually take, Natasha?
It depends on the contractor.
What would be the longest that you've seen or experienced?
I say like 3 months, but things come up, right? You have permits. Sometimes they run into permits, so it can get longer. But I've seen it be 4 weeks, 3 months. It just depends, and it depends on how quick your contractors move. If they got a lot of jobs and they slacking on your job, all of those things you got to take in consideration. And then how much work is needed to be done. Some just need lipsticks. Some need a whole wedding, So it just go ahead.
When I lost that money on that first flip. Yeah. That took me out 8 months on that asset.
Mm.
And you've got to think, 8 months, I've maxed out a personal credit card. And I think Southwest was that Chase credit card was probably at 20 some odd percent.
Mm.
Secondary to that was,
Right.
secondary to that was, I also went over the limit. So the $35,000 credit card was probably at like a $45,000 balance.
Oh, got you. Oh, so you went over the balance.
Mm-hmm. You went over the limit.
So look, y'all. I just want to say this. Whenever you go into business and you're investing into yourself, but at the same time, you're taking a risk.
Yeah.
Whether you go over the limit or you don't know if you're about to get this ROI, you do the due diligence of the research. By all means, both of them talk about the market. Both of them talk about Chris talked about going to an auction, which is easier and was better for his situation. Like doing the research, your due diligence, and taking the risk. Like jumping off the porch, jump in the car and just go. You know what I mean? Put your seatbelt on, but go. You know what I mean? And when you take these risks, I promise you, whatever it is, an avenue, personal development, it will take your life to another level. If you come to a point where you have a challenge, I don't really like to talk about failures, even though they exist, to people that just stop. If you just stop, you failed. Period. If you have a hiccup or a challenge, it's just this little speed bump. You did not fail. You're still on that journey. You're still going. You're still making moves. So I'm saying this to say, no matter how successful a person is, they've taken a risk on themselves in order to get to whatever level that is. And keep in mind, you're in your own lane. Stop trying to compete with everybody else. Stop trying to go buy a house because somebody else bought a house. Because everybody's buying houses. Is it your time to buy a house? It might not be. It might take you 2 or 3 months to get in position to buy that house. But at the same time, you have to gather the resources, the assets, and the intellectual property in order to take that risk and go to the next level. For the people that just hopped on, I just want to let y'all know this: the Kings and Queens of Credit. We're interviewing Chris Colbert. He has an incredible journey. He has had challenges he's overcame. And this is literally a representation of what's possible. When it comes to credit, he's leveraged credit in so many different areas that has helped his family, has helped other people. His story is evolved around serving of other people. He's helped our country. Let's just be real about it.
Yes, thank you for that.
Absolutely.
I put that down to say thank you for serving.
Because Lord knows, JJ wasn't gonna sign up. Like if it wasn't for y'all, like ain't no telling where this country would be. So shout out to you and shout out to the people that serve 1,000%. And I just want to instill that inside of people, understanding you have to be a servant leader. You have to take risk on yourself and you have to invest in yourself and get around people like Natasha, get around people like Chris so that you can have the information in order to move accordingly. Like we're not just shooting this gun blindfold. We got the targets, we got the bullets so that we got to reload and we're on a mission. And I need everybody to understand your mission is your mission. Like don't let somebody else's mission be your mission because you'll lose. Right? There is no traffic in your own lane. We say it all the time. So just take your notes. And this is another thing that I enjoy doing. And and Natasha, go ahead and with your question. But I just want to say this because this has been my life. Being able to like be observant has been my life. Like the reason why I'm in position where I am now is because I was able to observe what other people are doing and understand like, nah, that man went to jail and I'm not trying to do that. Like, I'm cool. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, that's something I'm not doing. This person did that and was successful. Okay, maybe I'm going to do it just a little different because my name is Jerome Johnson. My name is not Michael Jordan. You get what I'm saying? So I'm saying this to say, taking a deep dive into other people's stories like Chris Colbert will allow you to take what he's done and apply some of the things to your life so that you can be successful in that area and or in that personal development area. You don't have to go through situations and run into brick walls when you see other people go into their brick walls and see why they did that and how you could jump over the wall, how you can get some sort of stepping stool or use something as leverage to get over that wall. You don't have to bump your head against the wall. You know what I mean? So I'm saying this to say, take Chris Colbert's story and utilize it in a sense of how can it help me? Yeah. How can it help me get to another level, whatever that level may be? And I just want to instill that inside of y'all because that's been my life. I've been surrounded around people that are smarter than me, got more money than me, and it's just done different things. And I just learned from them what to do and what not to do. You get what I'm saying? Even my parents, what to do and what not to do. Just because your parents do certain things, that does not mean that that's something you have to do. You got to do it a little differently. You get what I'm saying? So that's something that I wanted to share because I know it'll help somebody in the future.
Yes. Know who you are and execute.
1,000.
Winnie Wynn said. So, Chris, do me a favor. Drop some books. Like there's some good books out there. What books have inspired you in your journey that you feel like you've took some great nuggets from to implement in your growth process?
So there's probably 3 books that has been pivotal. Of course, everybody here, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the Richest Man in Babylon, the Holy Bible, and I'll drop another one. This book here has been pretty dope too. Oh, you can't see
0%. I knew
it. Yeah, okay, that. Yeah.
It's been pretty dope. I mean, and that experience has been amazing too. So, but most of what I attribute a lot of my success to is I like you wrote that in there. Yeah. Is other people, what JJ was just saying, is other people's experiences, whether good or bad, right? So there's a saying about you can't learn, like people have said, you can't learn something from somebody that hasn't been where you're trying to go. In fact, I think it's actually the opposite. You can learn a lot from a person that has not made it to where you're trying to go because they've shown you what not to do.
Come on, Chris, let's go.
Mm-hmm. And so I tend to look at failed processes and barriers of entry to different areas of life, right? As opposed to like saying, oh, I can't learn something. And I'll give you an example. I was downtown Sacramento not too long ago, and I ride Can-Ams, which is three-wheel motorcycles. And one of my buddies' bike wouldn't start. And so everybody tried to troubleshoot his bike and nobody could figure it out. Now we're all riders, right? We've owned our bikes for at least 2 years and some even longer. But a homeless guy walks past and tells my homeboy, hey, it sounds like your battery post is not connected. And he doesn't say anything else. That's all he said. And he keeps on walking with his little cart or whatever the situation was, right? Now, somebody would say, oh, well, that's just a bum or blah, blah, blah. Why should I listen to him? Mm-hmm. Because he don't own a Can-Am. Why should I listen to him? Mm-hmm. Because he don't have the amount of money I have in my pocket. Why should I listen to him? Mm-hmm. Well, the reason you should listen to him because it was actually the reason why your bike would not start. Because the post was not tight.
Yeah, right. That's good. So, I love it.
And then you have people that are already in an area that you're trying to go, that are inspiring, that are willing because they're operating out of a sense of overflow, willing to share. But what I find is that if I come to any table without a table but my hand out, it's easier for somebody to reject me to sit down at that table. Mm. But if I bring my table, regardless to the size of my table, to your table, Natasha, or to your table, JJ, My table might be it might be a 4x4, and you've got a 10x10, but I still brought my table to the table, so
yeah,
I could sit at my table and listen from the sideline.
yeah. That's a fact. And you can bring whoever you want and need to that table. That's real. I love it. Yeah, that's lit. Go ahead.
That's that. If you don't fit at the table, create your own table. You know, which is exactly what I did when Chris told me not to pay that $40,000. We created our own table, and now we are meeting every Wednesday with the multi-unit crew and getting ready to acquire some multi-unit properties. So
that's
definitely make sure you're in alignment and make sure you're surrounded by people who want to see you win, who's not afraid to scratch your back, and make sure you're doing the same for them as well. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, like you say, you pull up to the table and you don't have nothing, but make sure you're able to pour in just as much as you want to be poured into. It makes sense. Yeah.
1,000. And hey, Natasha said it, man. Be around people that's smarter than you. And we always talk about like-minded, but search for those people that's like-hearted as well. Because we all know when it comes to like-hearted, that's different than like-minded. You know what I'm saying? You'll get with a like-minded individual they'll turn around and stab you in the back because they didn't have the same heart. You know what I'm saying? It's happened to me several times. And that's the reason why it's my duty to share that information as well. Chris, when it comes to you being you and living the life that you live, what is one question that we haven't asked you that people need to know?
Yeah. You didn't ask me what's my superpower.
What's your superpower, Chris?
Please tell us.
I believe my superpower is I build genuine relationships organically instead of forcing relationships.
Let's go.
And
oh, my bad.
A part of that though is identifying what my value is that I bring to that relationship. Because of course, if somebody's well-versed in, I'll give for this, and this is for everybody to realize, right? For the people that's listening and even for us, right? If somebody has more information or more money than us in whatever it is that we are trying to acquire, like say we're trying to acquire multifamilies, right? And somebody's been doing it for 20, 40, 50 years. They got tons of clients. They don't have whole lot of time. So being able to identify what they don't have or what they don't know that might be able to potentially help them even acquire more or to be able to gain some more time, meaning like being able to provide resources to systems or resources to creative financing or resources like Tasha being able to say, you know what, here's the areas that we need to learn about. And I've genuinely built these relationships to bring to another group. Right?
That's real. Yeah.
So
for sure. And everybody's got a superpower. Everybody. Like every single person that's breathing has a superpower. It's just a matter of you tapping into what that is, spending some time to yourself, and understanding that you are a person of value, regardless of what anybody tells you, what your mama say, your daddy say, your cousin, auntie, it doesn't even matter. Like you have a superpower, and I feel like everybody it's tied to their purpose. You get what I'm saying? And just because you don't know, that's okay. That's fine. Just take time to learn what that is, because I guarantee you that purpose, that superpower, it shows up every single day of your life. You just haven't noticed what that is. You get what I'm saying? Natasha, what is your superpower?
You know what? My superpower, I think, is the ability to connect with people naturally, genuinely, and wholeheartedly. I love people. You know what I mean? And I think it's just having a genuine heart and allowing people to see that. I think that, without having to take anything from them,
Yeah.
And because of that, I've developed some major relationships with people that don't even deal with a lot of people that be like, I mess with you, Tasha, because
right. That's real. That's how you really know it's real, though.
Yeah, and I did this thing, and another thing that I think is a part of my superpower. I never realized it until I took that what is that DISC assessment?
Okay, yeah. 100.
And so they did this thing, and it was telling me that part of my characteristic is that I will be that person that goes and pulls that person that nobody will see in the room and bring them to the front with me. Word. Like nobody would know this person. They probably be quiet. They may not even like to deal with people. But I bring, hey, this is such a such, so, and that's it, where they wouldn't be able to do it themselves, but I would. So I think that's also a superpower.
No, absolutely.
What's your superpower, JJ?
Yeah, so my superpower is mainly bringing life to people. I noticed that I have this type of energy and a connection where I'm able to like literally bring life to people, whether it's be their attitude or a project that they're working on, and if they feel some type of discouragement, I'm able to like be transparent and shine the light on what is actually working for them. Because there's times where we get so caught up in what we're doing and we forget what's working and trying to figure out what's not working. You see what I'm saying? So when you figure out what's working and you have that confidence in what's working, that's when you see the light in whatever that project is, or even that personal development. So me speaking life into people and then showing that the optimistic side of things is my superpower for sure.
I'm over here smiling like a proud mom because I'm like, that is my baby. That is so cute because you have done it for me.
Blessings. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Nico says, all you have great energy. I rock with y'all for life, even if we don't talk much.
Love you, Nico. Shout out to network.
1000%.
Yes.
We are up to an hour. I don't want to hold y'all too much because I know everybody got things to do. Natasha, I know you have one or two more questions, and then I'll close out if we need to.
Run it. I mean, y'all got the questions, run them.
Okay.
What's your best advice for somebody just starting out?
Starting out in business, starting out in real estate, starting out in credit, just we going with the flow or what?
Wherever you want to touch it. Yeah.
So
gifts and passions. That was the last part of it.
Oh, monetizing their gifts and passions.
Yeah.
Okay. So I love this question. And in fact, when you find out what you're passionate about. Oh, my neighbor's about to come. She's coming up to the door.
Oh. Tell her
yeah, and I'm the only one in here, so she's probably gonna ring the doorbell.
Oh.
Now you can do your thing. Or
1 second.
Come on, come say hi.
She just dropped it off. She just dropped the mail off and then she left. So she was rang the doorbell and she just dropped it off. But anyway,
nice neighbors.
I know.
So what was the question again?
Passion and purpose.
What is your best advice for somebody just starting out to monetize their gifts / passion?
So the thing about the world that we live in is majority of us are consumers. What we consume is different on some levels. Means some people like to consume information. Some people like to consume a lot of food. Some people like to consume. There's a lot of different things we can consume, right? But one thing for sure, and two things for certain, somebody in another place on this earth wants to do something you've done or that you're planning on doing, right? And so even if it's not a passion, but you know how to effectively do it, somebody could and would pay to learn how to do it, right? Or they would consume it through watching a YouTube or some kind of video or tuning into a live or interview like this or podcast, right? So those things can be monetized. But when you identify your passion you identify your passion, or even, because passion and purpose are two different things, but you identify your passion, you can definitely monetize that by just doing it and marketing it, finding ways that you can create either, like I said, either YouTube, Instagram posts, some kind of CRM system, and doing a lot of the business things to be able to capture the people that are those part of the population that want to learn about what you're passionate about. Oftentimes, our passion drives purpose. It might be kind of like the same in one, but it's not. But so, like, when you identify that my purpose on this earth is to encourage, to uplift, and to help other people prosper, right? That might be my purpose. But what I might be most passionate about is speaking in front of the camera in order to do that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
There's other ways to still do that purpose. Like, I can write books and still do the same exact thing, but I might not be passionate about writing books. So when you find that passion, it won't be work.
Right.
But even more so, when you find out your purpose, you'll start aligning yourself with people that feeds into that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, I love it.
Some of why we're doing this right now today.
He preached.
If you ask
Pastor Rich,
if JJ said, this is how our conversation went in regards to today's podcast, did I give any rebuttal? Did I say no? Let me check my calendar, even though I probably did check my calendar. but I already understood that this aligns with my purpose.
Word.
And when you find out what your purpose is, more often than not, things don't align with your purpose, you'll start saying no.
Yeah.
Oh, that's real. That's when people, when they hear no, that's when people can look sideways. But at the same time, it's such of a gratification within self when you can just tell somebody no, because it doesn't align with what you got going on. Like, it feels so much better, because those yes people, like, those yes people get drained and they get taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that to say, like, that's not saying like don't be quick to I'm not saying be quick to say no. I'm saying be quick to know if it aligns with what you got going on or not, like Chris mentioned. Because if it doesn't, most likely it's a waste of time, and or you're being leveraged to a point where, like, it's not a win-win. And all 2023 win-win situations. Like, we not doing, this is our Michael Jordan season. You know what I'm saying? Like, we win-win. If it's a win-loss, we're not doing it. It don't align. So I love the fact that you mentioned that. And when he wins, says you preaching as well. He agrees with Tasha, and I agree as well. When it comes to business, Chris, a lot of people hesitate. We talked about taking risks. We talk about your journey. When it comes to investing into a business, somebody that's got no money, we all know credit's very prominent. But what is the thought process behind starting a business, and how to get capital for that business? Like, for you, like, what isn't a blueprint that you would follow for somebody just starting out?
If you're lean on credit and you don't have money, right? I would say you need to identify some kind of product that you can leverage free resources, free website, Wix, GoDaddy, whatever, or I don't know what other selling websites, but you need to be able to do some research. You need to be leveraging your time, right, to figure out how I can create something one time and be able to generate some revenue, right? Yeah. As a person that has an aspiration of doing some other kind of business, right? But if I can start generating additional revenue that's on autopilot without me, that means that I still have my time, but I'm bringing in numbers. I'm bringing in dollars, right? Once you start bringing in the dollars, then you need to invest on invest on number one, a secured savings loan to start off building up that credit profile. That's going to be whatever money you've been saved. You're going to put that in a secured savings loan, right? Yeah. You're going to borrow from that, or pay off, or however the term you want to use. Pay off, leave a small balance, allow that to report, and you're going to create another one.
Yeah.
Now you've got two accounts reporting on your credit profile. Preferably do this, I would tell somebody at least try to save up $10,000 of income. Then another thing is, like, if you have, most of us have traded time for money, right? So to be able to leverage some things that you might already have, and I'm making this broad statement because there's a lot of people that don't have a lot, right? There's a lot of people that don't have a lot. But if you have some items that are collecting dust, 1 second, I'm gonna show you guys something.
For sure. And then Natasha, I'm gonna double back with you about the real estate market, because we got some people that are definitely heavy in the game and want to know a little bit more, but just for context.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I don't know if y'all can see this, right?
No messy wires.
No messy wires. It's a little blur.
Yeah, because I got that background on, but it's nevertheless it's a wall heater.
Okay.
I bought this wall heater probably 2 years ago. This thing right here. Dang,
okay.
So this goes,
it looked like a beeper.
Right. It was old school.
This little box here goes on like 4-wheel ATVs.
Okay.
It changes the speed, the relay on the 4 wheels. If you got like a 4-wheeler, or if you got one of those small off-road bikes.
Yeah.
It's a $300 product, right? That I bought. It was the wrong product, right? Those two items were never used. They're still in the box, never used, but they're just sitting in my house, right? Then there's some things that I might have had that was lightly worn, that I wore maybe once or twice. There's some sites like Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, eBay, whatever the case may be. You can start liquidating the items that you have that are of value that somebody else want, even if you seemingly take the loss of whatever you paid for it. That box right here, this was probably like a $300 item, but if it's sitting here and I can't return it to the store, why not get $150 for that?
Sell it, yeah.
So you got to think of creative ways to generate the revenue, which takes a little bit of time. But then you take that cash, and if you already have derogatory things on your credit profile, you save that money specifically to join to go to the front of the line by paying somebody that does credit repair.
Word. Leverage.
I save all this. Like I got a cell phone right here, and I don't use it's an Android.
I don't use Android either.
The cell phone carrier will probably give me. They'll probably give me about $500 for that phone. It's just sitting there.
Yeah.
So you get this money, you leverage the money to either resolve your credit or to create a new account. What do you say? Let me sell these first.
Right. I'm not gonna lie. I got some stuff in my garage. I was like, you need to put that on there.
You can actually sell stuff on the Nextdoor app, which is like your community app for neighbors, and if there's crime and things going on, you can sell items on there as well. OfferUp.
Do anybody use Craigslist?
Yeah, they still do. It's just a little tricky. You know what I mean? They charge now, but also, I guess that's to eliminate some of the scammers and, stuff like that. But they still have Craigslist. Yes. Yeah. And that was really good information. And I asked that simply because, like, you know, a lot of people think too hard about being an entrepreneur or being self-employed, but I just want to encourage people to know, like, you don't have to be a full-blown entrepreneur. You can literally just find different ways to now get a little bit of income. That income will now start to compile and start to accumulate. You know what I mean? And the whole goal, and we say it all the time, is to make more money babies. Like, use that money so that it can now multiply, whether it's $2 into $4 into $9 into $20. And you know, that makes you an entrepreneur. You don't have to be a full-time entrepreneur. It's just the mindset that makes you an entrepreneur. It's not really you just like your 9 to 5 is you being an entrepreneur. Like, you can have a 9 to 5 and still be an entrepreneur. I've done that like years of my life. I've always had one foot on one side and one foot on another side, but it's just learning the process of how you can leverage your time and or leverage things around you so that you can now make more money and let that money create more money babies and multiply. Natasha, when it comes to the real estate market, and what's like not shortcuts. I don't like shortcuts. I like smart cuts. Like, what would be the smartest way to invest? And I know there's different ways to invest in to obtain property, but what would be one of the smartest ways that you would suggest someone to buy property?
Okay, so first, always is understanding the market, because the market is always changing and it always recycles. It always comes back, you know, around. So understanding the time of where you are in the market so you'll know how to approach it. But like Chris and I mentioned earlier, is the creative financing is major key, right?
Okay.
Like, you can assume a loan. They have opportunities where you can go and assume a pre-existing loan where somebody can't pay that debt and they need somebody to just take over. And you know, and it's almost like a subject to. It is pretty much like a subject to. But there are so many creative financial ways to assume loans. And one of the things that, shout out to Stephen Peterson, that he mentioned on our call recently was like, a lot of times people mix the bank process with the real estate laws, right? So if you're not assuming a loan through the bank and you're going straight to the seller, whatever the bank laws is, you don't have to comply with that, right? As long as it makes sense with the real estate transaction that you're doing. So a lot of times people feel like, oh, I can't do that because of what the bank law policy is or whatnot. That does not hold the same weight as if you go directly to the seller and work something out. So like, seller financing is great ways when it comes to investing. Also understanding the ARV and buying property and knowing what the cap rates is and things like that. And does it have add value potential, you know, where you can buy a property and maybe there's other things that you can implement into buying that once you acquire that property to make more money that maybe they weren't doing, you know, like adding a dog park, a playground, whatever. Like, there's so many different things, something as simple as a laundry room, you know, taking out the trash. Like, there's so many different little things when it comes to investing that can yield a large amount of money every month or every year that a lot of people don't even think of. And so they'll walk away from a great deal because they didn't know the potential that property could bring. So.
No, yeah, that's good. That's real good. I appreciate that. Rich, when it comes to business, what is, I guess, not what you got currently going on, but like, what is your overall goal before 50?
So let me actually address the last question that you gave to Tasha.
Okay, for sure.
Just for anybody that's listening, right? Forget about, because there is a thing where people don't trust a whole bunch of people. Like, we automatically come to situations where we have been done wrong or whatever the case may be. Somebody burned us on a contract, or somebody burned us for some money, or whatever the case may be. And then sometimes there's people just automatically just put up a barrier anyway. But I'll say this, right? One easy way, or not a shortcut, but a great way be creative, a smart way to be creative in gaining access to real estate is most transactions are all numbers, right? And so if I can approach people in my family, either that has cash or good credit, there's two things I could do. I could present them with the offer, because a lot of people like to see. Let's just see straight numbers. This property I want to buy. I want you to be a partner. What is that? What is me saying to Natasha? Say Natasha's my cousin. I say, hey, Natasha, I want to come to you as a partner. Can you invest in this business model I'm going to do? I'm going to buy this asset. I'm going to sell this asset. Here's the numbers. What I'm going to do for you is I'm going to give you, let's just say, for the sake of numbers, 13%. 13% would allow Natasha to possibly use a credit card or a line of credit or whatever she uses to leverage the difference between what it costed to borrow the money versus what she's going to make by investing with me, right? So if I give her an option like that with 13%, right? 13% on, if she gives me $20,000, it's going to be more than what? $2,000? 20,000, 10% is 2,000. So it'd be a little more, right?
13% on, 20% on, on 13,000.
13% on 20,000.
I got you.
That's 2,600.
Yeah.
2,600.
Yeah, 2,600. Yeah.
Right. So if the property itself is going to yield me $90,000 or $50,000 in profit, it would be nothing for me to give her $2,600.
Oh, right. Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
Because you keep that in your bank, you're not gaining. You gaining what penny a month?
If not even that.
Not even that.
And then if effectively done, where Natasha used that $20,000, that's just one person. So I got 20,000 from Tasha. Then I go and get 20,000 from JJ, all from the same exact thing. So now my overall payout is $5,200. But I'm still going to make $70,000 on the asset.
Yeah. So that's like a joint venture or a syndication.
It's just a straight contract. It's just a straight contract where I'm getting an unsecured loan from you. It's the same as what you get with the credit card.
Yeah.
Right.
But the way I presented it to you is you're a partner in this, because I'm going to give you 13% of your 13% of what I borrowed from you.
Right. Learn the system.
You could do this.
The system. Go ahead.
You could do this enough times to not have to even pay for the asset.
Yeah, you don't even have to use your own money.
That's game. I like it.
Yeah. And it is. It's that's a real thing. It's understanding the syndication, understanding the joint ventures, and exactly what Chris said. They all go hand in hand. And it's just understanding the different aspects and avenues that each one brings. But yeah, those are ways where you can invest in properties without even having to use your own money.
I told y'all we got the biggest on the call. You know what I'm saying? We got Chris Colbert and we got Natasha Bass on the call. Talk to me nice. You know what I mean? Bless on top of more blessings, man. I appreciate y'all 1,000, bro. I don't know how long this replay gonna be up. So send this out to your trusted circle. Send this out to the people that you rock with, people that you do business with, and most importantly, watch it again until it's up any longer. Not up any longer. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it will be up for a couple of days. I'm gonna do that. Just simple fact, I know people need this information, so definitely share it. And if you can download, by all means, download. But just understand that this is a very, very powerful call. I knew it was going to be good, but it was better than what I thought. So, like, once again, salute, Chris. Salute to you, Natasha. And it's up. Like, this is something that we live for. When he said that was a good blessing to you all, for sure, for sure.
Blessings to you too, Mr. Winnie Win.
Absolutely. And we like to end it with a cool little game. We go 3 rounds. So I'll say a word and you say the first thing that comes to your brain, right? And then Natasha will say a word, and then Chris, once again, say the first thing that comes to your brain. That's the first round. All right, we're going to do this 3 times. It's 3 rounds, and it's just word for word. All right? Are you ready?
Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, let's start. Natasha, you go first. Women first, ladies first.
Abundance.
Overflow.
Rich.
Before 50.
Hey. Do I supposed to keep going?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Invest.
In real estate.
Okay.
Or people.
In yourself.
Relationships.
Yes.
Must. A must.
Yeah.
A must. Okay.
Okay. Life.
Prosperity.
We're gonna go one more round. Legacy.
I like that one.
Trust.
Okay.
That's your word?
Yeah, that's his word. Go ahead.
People.
Asset.
Okay, let's go. I love it. Hey, y'all. Thank you for tapping in. And also, Chris, thank you for your time. Natasha, thank you for your time. It is up. We do this every so often. We have special guests. We don't just randomly pick people. We pick people that's really doing it in the credit game, really doing it in their avenue of business. And we bring enlightenment to the communities, man. That's what we're about. And that's what we're doing. Once again, Chris, let the people know where they can find you. And if you have any type of service and or product, by all means, it's an open floor.
All right. At Rich Before 50 _ RICHB 450 _ on Instagram and TikTok. Those are where I pretty much reside in terms of social media. Don't have a Twitter. My Facebook is really reserved for family, but if you happen to want to follow me, because most of my posts are open there as well, it's going to be Samuel Colbert's son. SAMUEL space Colbert's COLBERT 'SSON. That is my father. I'm Samuel Colbert's son. But anyway, so and most of, like I said, most of the posts are open there. On Facebook. Yes, I will be at a speaking engagement in Oakland, January 7th. You don't want to miss it. We will be discussing leverage to wealth. We will be discussing Airbnb. We'll be discussing business credit. We will be discussing credit. And my wife will be definitely dropping some game on government contracts. She was able to, within 6 months, be able to build out a 6-figure business that leverages government contracts. And you don't want to miss this event. And she's kind of one of those things that JJ was talking about. She has a 9-to-5, right? She has a 9-to-5. She enjoys her 9-to-5. In fact, her 9-to-5 is one of her passions, helping other people in the human resources department. But secondary to that, yes, DM me the word waitlist. In the beginning of January, I will do a January to February mastermind where we will cover in detail the things I've been able to do to scale 2 businesses to over 6 figures. We will include some real estate hacks, things that I have not posted, things that I've been able to accomplish in real estate, how to find actual deals and how to invest silently in other people's deals.
Yeah, that's golly. Hold on, I'm putting so they can DM Rich before 50, DM waitlist to get access to this mastermind. And I want to say something really quick about masterminds, y'all. Like masterminds are like the secret sauce. That's and it's a secret for a reason, because everybody can't join the mastermind, because that's the whole point. Everybody's not welcome. So I highly suggest if you are accessible to a mastermind, I just highly suggest you at least take some sort of like action in order to get in the room. If it doesn't work for you, it don't work for you. But masterminds are literally set so that they can separate a certain type of people from other people, so that they can move forward in a quick, fast, and efficient manner. So definitely, if you got any type of mastermind opportunities, you definitely want to tap in, and you definitely want to be a part of that. If it doesn't work for you, then it doesn't work for you. But at the same time, you want to take a peek and you want to get a taste of that, because I promise you, like when it comes to like other entities, like y'all can say what you want to say, but when it comes to Bilderberg groups, when it comes to like the Rothschild, all them people, at the end of the day, it's a mastermind. They're in a closed environment, sectioned off from other people, and they're all talking about something that can help them as a whole level up. Exactly. Natasha, you tell them where they reach you and anything you else got going on.
All right. So I am definitely going to be in the building January 9th for Richie's event. I'm looking forward to
I think it's 7th. I think it's January 7th.
We said January 9th. I need you to get
January 7th. I apologize.
January 7th. What is January 7th?
Like, I'm putting this on my calculator. I mean, on my calendar. Make sure it's right.
This Saturday?
It's January 7th.
Okay, January 7th. So we will be in the building. So, but you guys can find me on Instagram at Miss Realtor Tash. It's MSREALTORTASH. On Facebook, my name is Natasha Bass. I don't really be on LinkedIn, but I'm there. And yeah, and you can always just my website is Natasha at natashabass.com. And I love to help anybody who's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. And if you need some help, if you credit challenge, that's all right. We got you too. We got some steps and some measures that you can take so that you can get to where you need to be on the way to where you're trying to get to going. So
let's go. The biggest. I don't sleep. This is the biggest realtor on the West Coast, man. Shout out to y'all. Once again, my name is JJ, also known as Mr. Royal Credit. Find me on all social media platforms at Mr. Royal Credit. And at the same time, I got something big going on in a couple of days. No, excuse me, in a week. Actually, I got a lot going on for the next couple months, but the next event will be the Credit Ninjas with Chauncey Mr. 365. We're going over manufacturer spending. We're going over personal credit, business credit. And at the same time, we're going to help you build your business right there on the call, along with some extra stuff. But at the same time, tap in with me at Mr. Royal Credit on all social media platforms. And if you are interested and you're on this call right now, just text READY to 323-601-0660, and we'll get you access to the class as well. All right. Okay. Once again,
one more.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Y'all see this? Y'all see this behind me?
We see land insurance, land trust,
insurance check, land check, trust check.
Yeah.
You could go to richbefore50.com and get that on your shirt today.
Oh, let's go. Let's go. richbefore50.com.
Let's go.
All right, let's get it.
Merch too.
Merch on top of merch. I appreciate y'all again, man. I can't say it enough. But at the same time, we're all headed to the top. The bottom is way too crowded, but we will never look down on anybody unless we're willing to help them up. Like I said, man, thank you. And thank you. Hey, this won't be the last time you see Chris. This definitely won't be the last time you see Natasha. So y'all stay tuned. Stay tapped in. We appreciate y'all's time, and go get it. It's still Friday. It's only noon out here, so it's a lot more time to enjoy yourself, and also capitalize. Go get some profits in your pocket. All right. Bless on top of more blessings. Peace.
See y'all.